Good morning, and thank you for joining me today. The weather is kind of disrespectful, so we want to make sure that our folks are taking it easy today and making sure they're traveling with caution. First off, I wanted to thank Joanne. Actually brought it up, but as was reported, I was in a car accident last Tuesday. We were leaving from the new arena, headed to City Hall, traveling, I guess it would be east on Oglethorpe, and a gentleman kind of blew through the intersection, and I hit him. He spun, and he hit another car. He was taken to the hospital, and I'm in a little bit of pain, little soft tissue stuff going on, and but thank God it could have been a whole lot worse. My sweet beloved 2004 Honda did not survive, unfortunately, despite my best attempts, and I'm still trying to find ways to resurrect that. So I'm fighting with the insurance company to tell them why she's worth me keeping around. So just thank you all for your thoughts and well wishes. We also mourn a loss in our Savannah police family. It's been reported at 2:15 a.m. Saturday morning. Officer John Lindsay was responding to a call when his vehicle was involved in a crash at Price and Liberty Streets. The crash resulted in the police SUV overturning, and K9 Haas, who was in the back seat of the SUV, which is outfitted for canines, died as a result of the crash. Fortunately, thankfully, Officer Lindsay did not suffer serious injuries, and the Georgia State Patrol is investigating this crash. And as we know, when the Georgia State Patrol is investigating it, that means that we're not investigating it. That means that we're not speculating. That means we wait for the results of the investigation. But a word about Haas, who was a 3-year-old Belgian Malinois, joined our department in summer of 2019 and was certified as a dual-purpose patrol drug dog and worked on the SWAT team. And in just 4 months, once paired with Officer Lindsay, they were responsible for 37 arrests, 26 which were felonies with 1 physical apprehension. This team completed 3 article tracks, 5 tracks, 63 drug searches, and 3 building searches. This team was also responsible for the seizure of 121.15 grams of marijuana, 36.3 grams of meth, 284.3 grams of heroin, 26 guns, $10,218 in cash, and 10 vehicles. For those of you that understand and know the relationship between officers and their K9 partners, they work together every day, all of the time. They're together all the time. So for us, this loss is significant and it's real. And so this is a line of duty death, and we'll recognize him appropriately at a later time. In the meantime, we keep Chief Mentor and Officer Lindsay and SPD and the K9 unit in your thoughts and prayers while we wait from the report from the Georgia State Patrol. If once I get completed and Chief Mentor has anything to add to that, he's certainly here and available. Our COVID numbers continue their dangerous ascent in our community. On July 12th, our community transmission index was 84. As of yesterday, it was 289. 84, 289. On July 2nd, our percentage of positive tests was 5.7. As of yesterday, it was 12.2. 5.7, 12.2. On June 8th, our 7-day rolling average was 8.3. 8.3, as of yesterday, it was 80. So considering our COVID-19 cases and transmission increases, yesterday I was joined by several of our most prominent and efficient medical minds in this community as I issued an emergency order reinstating Savannah's mask mandate. This order requires people to wear a mask or face covering in the city of Savannah, government buildings, hospitals, early childhood centers, where possible elementary and secondary institutions, guided tours with any vehicle, including cars, trolleys, buses, bicycles, quadricycles, scooters, low-speed vehicles, boats, carriages, and pedicabs. And of course, it's still required on federally regulated transportation. All restaurants, retail stores, grocery stores, and pharmacies in the city are strongly encouraged to require their employees to wear a face covering while having face-to-face interactions with the public. Anyone entering into a commercial establishment in the city is strongly advised to wear a face covering or mask while inside. While we eagerly prepare for our young people to return to school in the coming days, yesterday I certainly asked the consideration of our Board of Education to consider requiring masks in schools that are within the city of Savannah limits. As I understand it, their position is to remain optional, to allow masks to remain optional for their students, which is fine. What I'm asking Savannah parents to do is to mandate masks for their children while in our schools. So the schools have made it optional, but parents can mandate masks for their children in schools. It doesn't have to be an option for them. And I think given our current situation, given our rising rates, this is absolutely appropriate and absolutely prudent. When it's raining outside, we give our kids umbrellas to protect them from the rain. So in the midst of a pandemic where the numbers are rising and going back into buildings with people that you are not sure of their vaccination status, or some who cannot be vaccinated, then I think it's appropriate for parents to arm their young people with masks. If they do not have masks, I will give them masks. But I just think it's important for our parents to talk with their young people, in addition of reminding them of the appropriate way to act and how to work hard in school, to teach them how to properly wear a mask and instruct them to wear a mask at all times while in school. The best way, though, to reduce the spread of COVID-19 in our community, though, is to get a vaccine. Vaccines are free and safe. I've been vaccinated, and we have plenty of vaccines available. If you're 12 years and older, please, please, please visit your family doctor, pharmacy, health clinic, the Savannah Civic Center on Thursdays, or the health department to get vaccinated. You can register to be scheduled, or you can walk in. If your doctor does not have the vaccine, you can visit any of the county health departments in the Coastal Health District anytime they are open. You do not need an appointment to get the COVID vaccine. None of us want to take a backward step in our return to normalcy, but wearing a mask is simple, easy, and the most inexpensive thing you can do to protect yourself and those around us until more of us get vaccinated. As you know, Georgia has one of the lowest vaccination rates in the country, and we are just a little better at that. Right now, I think we're at 42%. And so we have to be able to do better. And my challenge to our community was let us get to 52%. The emergency order will remain in place until 11:59 on August the 25th. We'll see where we are, and then we'll go from there. If the numbers are down sufficiently, then as we follow the science, then we will remove the mandate. But as it is right now, we follow the science. As you know, the Savannah City Council voted unanimously last Thursday to name Joseph J. Melder as Savannah's first permanent city manager since 2019. Mr. Melder, as you know, was selected following a national search and an extensive interview process, including community panels and meetings with the finalists here in Savannah. I have previously expressed my desire and my optimism that I will be able to secure a 9-0 vote to appoint a new city manager, and I was elated to get a 9-0 vote, even in this environment. I will tell you that it was not easy, and it required a much different strategy than we employed during the previous searches, but I think we did it. And so I want to thank my colleagues on council for their unanimous vote. I think it's important for a new person coming to a city to have the full confidence of his superiors. And so with that being said, I think that our search this time actually produced better candidates than we had the last time, and I think Savannah was better for it. So for those who bewailed the quote-unquote failed search the first time, I remind you that we had no candidates willing to come on a 5-4, and I would take a 9-0 any day than a 5-4 vote. An employment contract will be taken up for consideration by the City Council during their first meeting in August. And Mr. Melder is expected to assume the role of City Manager on Friday, September the 10th. And we look forward to welcoming him to Savannah. Interim City Manager Michael Brown will step down from his role effective this Friday, July the 30th. Mr. Brown has served in the interim role for the past 9 months after serving in the role for 15 years, from 1995 to 2010. I will tell you that Michael Brown has been the consummate professional, enduring probably some of the most difficult days of his professional career. And I appreciate him for remaining a professional, even when the professional courtesy was not extended toward him. I've had the opportunity to work with him when I came on council from 2004 to 2010, and I appreciate when I made the call and asked him to come back to help us, he was willing to do so. And so we had still star quality city management, and we have not really missed a beat, even during the 2 years of this administration, year and a half of this administration, because we still, I would put Michael Brown and Pat Monahan up against any city manager in this nation. So we were really blessed because of that. The City Council has also appointed Heath Lloyd, Assistant City Manager and Chief Infrastructure Development Officer, to serve as interim city manager from Friday, July the 30th until Friday, September the 10th. And I'm grateful to Mr. Lloyd, who was a candidate, for stepping up during this transition. I've spoken extensively to Mr. Lloyd, and we are good. We all are good. He's committed to Team Savannah, and we are committed to him. In other council business, we approved adjusting our to-go cup ordinance to allow for what? Aluminum cups. And this has been sitting here and the water is still cold. This adjustment will last for 60 days to allow local businesses to participate in a voluntary aluminum, got it? Okay, aluminum cup pilot program. This change will allow plastic, paper, and aluminum cups to be used in our to-go cup zone. Personally, I think this is a great idea. I don't know what the big problem was. This was a change in the ordinance to add the word aluminum so that we could do the pilot, because we couldn't do the pilot without changing the ordinance, because right now, well, previously our ordinance just said paper and plastic. So you had to change the ordinance to allow aluminum. The city of Savannah pays nothing for this. Nothing. And if we're going to commit to being, to move toward clean energy and getting rid of single-use plastics, here is an opportunity to do this. And so we've had some aldermen, led by Alderman Palumbo, and several of our environmental groups all on board saying, let's try it. We are the first city in the nation to try aluminum cups in a to-go cup zone in our nation. And for me, I will tell you, I think this cup has been reused by me at least 3 or 4 times. Otherwise, plastic bottles go where? Where does paper and plastic go? But this is reused. So every single time this is reused, you know, we are saving our landfill. And again, we don't, oh, y'all have one? Did everybody get one? All right. Sergeant, we make sure all of them have one. Thank you. And it keeps it really cold. So anyway, I think it works. And we want to thank our partners who helped make this happen. We also approved a $1 million contract for needed renovations at the Delaware Center. This SPLOST-funded project will add new windows, flooring, paint, and landscaping. This project will also redesign the main entrance and upgrade the kitchen, media room, fitness center, and community room. So we know this SPLOST works. This week is the last chance also to apply for the city's Arts and Culture Enrichment Program to fund arts, culture, and heritage programs, and a community partnership program to fund social services programs. Proposed programming must take place in the 2022 calendar year and within the city limits of Savannah. For more information about the Arts and Culture Enrichment Program, visit savannahga.gov/arts or call 912-651-6783. And for more information about the Community Partnership Program, visit savannahga.gov/grants or call 651-6520. The deadline for submitting applications is this coming Monday, August the 2nd at 5:00 p.m. This Saturday, you can join our REAL Racial Equity and Leadership Task Force and Parent University from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a community conversation about housing, education, criminal justice, economic mobility, and environmental justice. The Data Walk and the Real Talk will be held at Kingdom Life Christian Fellowship at 425 West Montgomery Crossroads. The event is free to attend, and we will provide breakfast, lunch, and childcare for free. For more information, you can call info@parentuniversity.org, info@parentinformation.org, or call 912-755-4422. And we know that Parent University is a great partner in our community, and we appreciate them helping us to achieve some of our strategic goals. Finally, former Mayor Edna Jackson joined me yesterday in Brunswick as we testified at the Georgia General Assembly's joint reapportionment and redistricting hearings. It is crucial for us that this process be equitable for all Georgians, and it's our job to ensure that we empower communities of color by exposing gerrymandered maps. It is my belief that the scheduled town halls released by this committee were not equitable. It excludes 7 of the top 10 most populous counties in the state, most notably Gwinnett County, which is the most diverse county in the state, and Chatham County, which is the home of Georgia's 2nd largest municipality. I have invited this esteemed committee to Savannah at a time of their choosing and their convenience, so our citizens will have the opportunity to address them regarding this critical and crucial process. I'll also be reaching out to our local legislative delegation to ask their support in helping us. Obviously, transportation is challenging within Chatham County, so imagine for those who wanted their voice heard. 80 miles from here to Brunswick is not just feasible for people who are transportation challenged. So I've offered that opportunity, and I hope they take us up on it. So that ends my prepared remarks, and I'll answer any questions you may have.
No. There you go.
Good.
Let me me just ask you a question about that reapportionment. What are your concerns about that? Do I understand that the state lawmakers that are going to be doing this are going around having hearings and you're saying they excluded Chatham County? Is that what I understood?
Sure. I mean, I think when you look at population centers, Savannah is a population center. We are the largest city on the coast. Chatham County is the largest county on the coast. It was held in Glenn County. I mean, I think that's part of the issue. I don't begrudge them from going to smaller communities, but the fact of the matter is the population center is here in Chatham County. 7 out of the 9 most populous counties were excluded from this process. So that's concerning to me, number one. Number two, I'm concerned that hearings are occurring before the census data is released. The census data is the basis by which the maps are supposed to be drawn. So if you are already having hearings, then what data sets are you using? So I'm concerned about that because you have the hearings, then the data is released, then you draw the maps. It's kind of backwards. I think the hearings should be based off of the real-time data from the maps that are drawn based on the census maps.
What's your understanding what the hearings are trying to accomplish if they don't have the census tract? What are they asking in hearings?
I think it's checking a box. I think it's, we have to have these hearings. Let's have the hearings. Again, I don't begrudge the committee. I'm sure they have a very difficult job. They can't go to all 159 counties. But I understand also that there are strategic locations that you have to be able to hit. Preferably, I think that this should be done henceforth and forevermore by a nonpartisan committee. In this fact, that whether it's Democrats or Republicans, instead of citizens choosing their elected officials, you have a situation where elected officials are choosing their citizens. And I mean, we heard cases from Bryan County, for example, talking about how the representatives there, that from right down the street here in Chatham, right down Bay Street, that the same person that represents them in Bryan County represents on Bay Street here in Chatham County. I mean, I don't know how that's worked out, but again, it's a very long, narrow stretch of land. So I think it should be done more by science and to ensure that it is the right solution rather than a political solution. And again, obviously, the prevailing party wants to ensure safety for their elected officials. But this is such an important process. And I think that, a nonpartisan group would probably be best to be able to draw it. And I challenge the committee, 10 years from now, what will they say about us? What will they say about these gerrymandered political lines? The fact is that, our local delegations across the state are rarely contested because they're in districts that it's really impossible for someone to win because it was drawn for someone. So again, I just think we'd be fair and let the voters decide.
Can you shed any light on why Michael Brown is leaving in such a drastic manner? I mean, there's a lot of innuendo. What's the truth?
The truth is Michael Brown is tired. I mean, we called him off the bench called him out of retirement, really, to say, come on back in and help us. It's been a real long, hard 9 months. And he's endured a lot. I mean, you've seen some of this in the public space. His integrity has been questioned. His loyalty has been questioned. At times, his intelligence has been questioned. And at the point at which you don't have to deal with that anymore, you don't deal with it anymore. And so fortunately for us, we reached a juncture at where he could leave. And I wanted him to leave at the best and soonest opportunity he could. So at the naming of a city manager, a transition bridge in which we'll say white noise, so to speak, kind of a reset, not only for our staff, but for our council, to provide kind of a good bridge for Jay Melden to come on. Again, I think Michael Brown's a rock star, and I appreciate what he has dealt with. And, you know, the fact is that, you know, a lot of this stuff is public. You know, sometimes it's been, you know, downright abusive, in my opinion.
Is there a cost to his quick departure because of some of these things?
No. Matter of fact, it might be a salary savings. Effective Friday, when Heath Lloyd takes over, what we're paying now will be the difference between Heath Lloyd's current salary and the $20,000 a year that Michael Brown was making. So essentially, we're saving money off of this.
Morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, Sean usually cleans up.
Thank you. I just want to transition a little bit and talk, and you said the Avery street shootings. Is there any updates?
The what?
The Avery street shootings.
Yes.
Is there any updates that you all can speak to? Have they been arrested, or where are you all with that?
Chief Mentor is here, and he can, you know, I let the police be the police. So once I get finished, he can. Do you have an update? He has no update. So I would assume that they're still investigating. You know, and again, I trust that they're following every available lead at this point.
Is Chief Mentor going to address us today as a whole, or?
If you want him to, he will.
I'm sorry, can you speak?
If you want him to, he will.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. You had another question?
I'll wait till.
No. Okay. All right.
Hello.
Good morning.
So this question is in regards to the mask mandate.
Yes.
Are you all confident that reinstating the mask mandate will be enough to lower the numbers, especially since we have additional details now, we have the variant, and then also have vaccines?
We have to try. I'm not confident, but I do know that the science tells us that if masks are being worn, that slows the spread of COVID, vis-a-vis also now the Delta variant. We have to try. And we do know what happens when folks are just totally unmasked. Our numbers have shot up very distinctly and very quickly, very dramatically. We have 40 folks in the hospital. A couple of weeks ago, we had no one in the hospital because of COVID, and now we're at 40. We know what the costs are to our healthcare workers and our healthcare professionals. We know the costs of those that are getting sick. We know that school is getting ready to come back in. We know that people are still on vacation. We know people are still visiting Savannah, and they're coming from all over the country. So for us, this is a very intermediary, very simple step. Again, we've talked about capacity limits. We've talked about closing some types of businesses. We've talked about canceling public events. We've talked about lessening public events. You know, this is the first step. And so we're asking people that if, you know, you could choose not to, but then the consequences will become more drastic. Obviously, if our numbers continue to go out of control, the city government will have to take more drastic actions, and we will. And again, we have permits out there for people wanting to have events throughout the rest of the year. Some of them are very big events, some of them are parades. You know, we will cancel them. We will cancel them. And so we're asking people if you can mind the inconvenience of wearing a mask when you're not around people you live with, that maybe we can skip this curve. And again, I think we should have to look at our history. We were the first city in the state to wear a mask, and our experience was drastically better than every other city in the state. The only difference between us and them is that we did masks first. So let's do masks. You know, it should not be a political issue. and I have not addressed it. Yesterday, if you were here, I had all medical professionals. Every single one agreed that masks were our best first step at getting through this. And so, you know, those types of decisions should be made by health professionals and not politicians, because it's a medical public health issue, it's not a political issue.
And do we know the status on the individuals that are in the hospital regarding whether they are vaccinated individuals or not?
Good question. We're told that the vast majority of them, if not all of them, are unvaccinated. We have heard of breakthrough cases, hence why it's important to wear a mask, because you can still catch COVID. Even though you're vaccinated. And so the people who have had breakthrough cases, and I know a couple of them personally, it's like a head cold. And so they said they're not feeling great, but they're not sick enough to be in the hospital. But you know, I would think with very few exceptions, the people in the hospital right now and the people who died locally were not vaccinated.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And, just an update in regards to the arts and culture applications and the to-go pilot applications. Have you been seeing a significant amount of participation in businesses and individual organizations that would like to?
I don't know. You know, obviously that's a staff-driven thing, so we're hoping, I've been mentioning it now for weeks, because we want people, you know, if you have a good idea, then present the plan. Let's see if we can help partner with you on it. So, but I'm not familiar. I'm sure by next week I can have an idea of how many people have applied.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
I just have one question for you. Transit as bad off as they were last year with COVID, and I'm trying to come back cases and numbers. You guys plan on deploying the COVID resource teams and being as proactive as handing out masks like we did the last time around?
Yes, we have more masks than we could ever do anything with. We will make them available to our citizens, and so staff is working on a variety of ways of helping to make them available. Obviously, everyone does not know that we have a mask mandate, so we'll help them, you know, make them available. My request to Chief Mentor will be to, again, let's supply them with masks, so as officers are out, they see people, you know, here's a mask. You know, it was a very fun exercise, Chief and I hanging out as we walked up to people, and you know, when we said, hey, you know, we have a mask mandate, you know, people put on the mask. I mean, it was very few people. I think last year, I think we might have cited 6 people, you know, who just were like, I'm not wearing it, I don't care what you do. I mean, most people wear the mask. Again, they understand it. And I think, again, for our businesses, they need that support, understanding that, you know, we're in a unique time. If they want to stay open for the long run, this is a very good initial step to get us to where we need to be. Again, in 30 days, if this was just a fluke, then, you know, hopefully we'll be able to lift it. We'll see. Thank you.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Just a couple things for me. So the COVID resource team, they are coming back?
Something is coming back. I'm not exactly sure what form, but it'll be some sort of something, yes.
Gotcha. The Civic Center.
Yes.
City-owned building, events happening or already scheduled for next month, month following. Will folks be required to wear masks at those events going forward?
Correct. Yes.
Also, wanted to ask about the new mandate. Why trolley tours, pedicabs, walking tours? Is it because they operate in public space? Is there no other private businesses that actually mandates it?
They operate in public space. And obviously, there are also places where people from various places all congregate. So if all of us get on a trolley, we're all together in the trolley. I don't know you, you don't know me, we don't know each other's vaccination statuses. That could be a super spreader event. So again, I think it's for us being able to practice good common sense And again, you know, some of these masks are very light. Again, helps protect our visitors. We want to make sure that the staff member conducting the tour is safe. We also want to make sure that those that are visiting us are also safe. Again, we don't want Savannah to be the source of their infection.
Last thing, have you had any conversations with other municipal leaders, specifically with the county commissioner and Chairman Ellis, about potentially following the footsteps of Savannah and reinstating mask mandate?
Not specifically. Obviously, we have been in contact both with the Coastal Health District. Last Friday, the chairman was quoted as saying that they were not taking any further action at this time. And so for us, that was, obviously we would have preferred if the county had, but you know, in the end, we are two separate, we have two different constituencies, so to speak. We serve the same people, but then Savannah is the most densely populated, and is also the entertainment, recreational center of the region. We have people coming from all over the place. Bryan County's numbers are higher than ours. We have people who live and work in Bryan County, who live in Bryan County who come to work in Savannah every single day. Camden County, their community transmission index is over 800. Again, there are people from Camden County who come to Savannah every single day to work or to visit or to play. Again, so understanding our unique relationship with our regional partners, you know, for us it was just an opportunity. I didn't think we would want to wait. Obviously, you know, it would make sense if we did it statewide as California did, but this is Georgia, and so again, every one of our medical professionals, and if they had said no, then we would be doing it. They all say yes. And I appreciate them because they didn't have to stand up here with me. Again, both of our hospitals were represented, all three of our hospitals were represented, both of our hospital systems were represented. Our two federally funded healthcare centers were represented. Private physicians were also represented. Again, I think that's and our Coastal Health District was represented. Medical professionals standing up together saying, this is not a political decision, this is a medical decision.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. You good?
Yes.
All right, Chief. All right, Chief.
Morning, folks.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Just wanted to, we talked a little bit about the Acre Street shooting. What is the frustration there in not having any arrests yet?
Well, I'm not sure it's a level of frustration. I can tell you the detectives are still continuing to work very hard on that case. They're continuing to follow up on witness and tip information and also forensics information. So I wouldn't say I'm frustrated. I know they're continuing to work very hard. I know they're dedicated to solving that case. So I'm proud of the progress that they're continuing to make and the hard work they're continuing to invest in that investigation.
What have you all, I guess, told families to kind of console them as they wait for some sort of justice?
Well, I believe they're still in communication with the family and letting them know that we are still aggressively following up on leads and tips and other evidence and still continuing to pursue a conclusion for that investigation.
I want to transition a little bit. We've had GBI here in Chatham County, Savannah area. It's 5 times in the past 4 months. What kind of pause does that give you? And is there any optimism in the recently appointed mayor kind of rectifying that and lessening their having to come out into the county and specifically the city?
Well, what I can tell you in terms of investigations, I believe there are only There's only one currently that the GBI is involved in with our agency. I can't speak for the other agencies. I can tell you the recent promotion of Captain Ben Heron to the position of Major, I believe is a great step for our department. He has a proven track record in different areas of the department. He's a long-time established veteran of the Savannah Police Department, and moving into criminal investigations allows us to have more focus in that area. Before, there was one major that had both field operations, basically patrol, and criminal investigations. Now we're able to break that up and put a major actually in charge of criminal investigations to give that area a little bit more focus, a little more attention.
Speaking about the recent GBI investigation, what do we need to know about Officer Love? I know he's on paid MD. How long has he been with the force? Was this, I guess, his first officer-involved incident? Officer-involved shooting? What more do we need to know about him?
Well, I believe we've released information on Officer Lowe's background. I'm not aware of any other officer-involved shooting he's been involved in, but I think everything else has been released regarding Officer Lowe and his current status.
I want to go back to that night. As we know, this traffic stop was 50 minutes long. Can you talk generally about why a traffic stop would be 50 minutes long?
Well, there is no standard set time for a traffic stop. It depends on the circumstances. It depends on what is actually involved in that particular traffic stop.
I know the family is set to bury the victim in that today. Have you reached out to the family or spoken with them?
I spoke to the family that night. I was on scene that night, the night of the actual officer-involved shooting.
What words, I guess, did you offer them in that time?
Well, I think that's a conversation probably needs to stay between myself and the family. If they want to have that conversation, I will certainly release that information, but well, I certainly had the opportunity to have a conversation with the family.
The family has also asked for more transparency in this case. They've asked for more cameras to be released, dash cameras to be released. Can you talk a little bit about why that hasn't happened and when it could potentially be released?
Well, I think that's a question that would be better answered by either the GBI or the District Attorney's Office.
Have they been in contact with the GBI? Has the GBI been in contact with you all about their progress on this particular investigation?
No.
One other question I had, going back to the stop, I mean, you said there's no particular set time, but why would multiple officers be needed to have been called that particular night?
Well, I think that goes to actually what was involved in the traffic stop, which is part of the investigation that the GBI is conducting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just have a quick follow-up on that. The body worn video in terms of the dash cam and the body cam, is that considered evidence by the GBI? Is that technically why it isn't being released, if you know? And I do think in other places they do release that video pretty quickly. Is there a state law or protocol as far as the GBI that they don't do that when the investigations happen?
Joanne, I think that's a question that would best be answered by the GBI. I'd hate to speak for the GBI in terms of what their protocol is and what they will and will not release. I think that's a question that would best be answered by the GBI.
Thank you.
There is a, you're familiar with the open records law? There's an exclusion specifically, and I quoted that earlier, that speaks to information that is gathered during the course of an investigation. And so there is a state law that says that. Some cities, for example, the police can release it. We can't release it. We don't have it. It's not ours. So the GBI is operating under that state law. So. Anything else? All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
Did you talk to